7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Now I'm going to be talking about this because I'm going to put it up on YouTube as well. So if you're watching it on YouTube, you've missed the launch because it's already been recorded. However, there's a link in the bottom of the page that you can sign up. This challenge is going to go for 5 weeks. Now that might seem insane to some of you. However, all we're doing is adding a little bit of direction to your practice routine. And harmonic slurs are something that, when done correctly and efficiently, can really help expand your range, your ease of playing, flexibility, endurance because you're more efficient. And generally, and I see this all the time with pro players, that there are a lot of issues, even in the low register, playing harmonic slurs efficiently. Now we can do them, although some people, and I'm talking really big name players, have never, this might strike some of you as a little bit odd or strange, but it's fact that a lot of pro players cannot do harmonic slurs quickly. I know a great example is Ryan Kaiser, who plays lead with Wynton Marsalis in the Village Vanguard Orchestra. He is an absolute demon at this stuff, and a lot of people can't do them. And why can't they? Is because the psychology is blow fast to play higher. Now, as I work through, now I've got the harmonic slur. Now, if you haven't got, I've got it because it's day one, go through all the stuff. This here is on the WindWorks page, on the WindWorks International Harmonic Slur Challenge page. The link is below if you're watching on YouTube. To be able to actually click a button and keep your progress, you need to be registered. Now you can register for free, and you just sign up on the register page, which is also down below. And because if you don't do that, you'll press all these buttons when we start working through, and it'll be lost, which is a complete waste of time. So you can get the free Largo status membership, and that'll set you up to be able to use the practice progress charts here. So I highly recommend you do it. So I want to break down, there's a lot of psychology involved here. Now, it doesn't matter what level of player you are. We want to make playing easy. You only have to look through the forum on the course to see how there's a conversation going on at the moment with someone who's very, very frustrated playing for years. And it's quite a bit of chat going on. It's amazing that people can live their whole lives playing and get to the point where they want to throw their instrument away, which is really sad. And if you're a pro out there watching, you know what I'm talking about. If you're a young student out there, and I know there's a bunch of guys coming from Ambrose Tracy College at some stage, don't end up like this. Work on your harmonic slurs in an efficient way that will enable you to develop all over your instrument without doing what everyone does. Pinch the lips in the middle, really tight. Force the air, really hard. So I'm going to go through all of the WindWorks concepts over the next 5 weeks. So as part of, I'm going to get on as many days as possible and show you my progress on the charts. And with that being said, thankfully, in a way, I haven't played for a week. I haven't touched my instrument today. I've just flown back from Wodonga visiting my sick mother. So it's kind of good to not have been being played. So you can see the development. The whole essence of it is, at the end of week 1, you're going to find, as you work through the faster tempos, that your duration gets shorter and shorter and shorter. And that's what we want to find. And what you will discover as you start trying to play your harmonic slurs faster or for longer, everything starts to tighten up. Okay, so the first 2 things that I want to address with you, firstly, this might seem weird if people are sitting at home watching you, I don't care. get your finger and we're going to put it between our teeth. You're going to take a breath in. For some of you, that will be familiar. For some of you, it will be foreign. Close your eyes and do it again. Now, it's that feeling that I call the body's concert hall that I want to maintain throughout all of your playing. One of my favourite clips is Bud Herseth playing the opening of Mahler 5 with Chicago Symphony. It's a perfect example of freedom. It's beautiful. There is a video with Wynton Marsalis playing piccolo. He's practicing. Kathleen, I should know. Someone tell me, Catherine Battle. Thanks, Shane. And Wynton is playing his piccolo. And in the background you hear, and his teacher's there saying, no compression, no compression. Even though there is compression in sound, we don't want the feeling of compression. And that's choking. You say compression to someone and they instantly think we're macho trumpet players. Force, tighten, push, choke. It's got to go, okay? So we need to be able to recognize when the body starts to tighten up when we're doing the harmonic slurs. So we don't like the word compression, even though there is compression to create sound. Okay, and recently, if you guys are friends with Thomas Hooton, god of trumpet from LA Philharmonic, was it Symphony, whichever, demonstrated. I'm going to ask him and download it and use it. He's got something coming up, and he just played, and it was effortless. And then he started talking, everything was relaxed. Okay, so we all need to be doing that. We can all play more efficiently. And again, I don't care whether you're a beginner or been playing professionally for 35 years, understanding the feeling of efficient playing and finding the triggers for inefficiency is the most important thing that you can do. And so how do we do that? And my favorite teaching tool of all is my magnifying glass. At what point does how easy is this to do? And you would have noticed there was a lot of volume change then, and I did not engage the body at all to do that. Then if you understand the feeling of it and recognize, here's my first trumpet note in 7 days. Here you go, check this out. There is no blow there. Please, if you take one thing away from day one, I want the lips to interact with the air as if they're the vocal cords. Everything is based on this. Everything is based on this, and a lot of people don't get it. By the end of 5 weeks, you will start and understand. And on that point, quickly, I don't care whether you do it once a week or every day. For the best results, you're going to fill out your chart every day. And you're going to come back and see where you were up to yesterday, and you're going to beat it. Then next week, we go up a semitone. It might seem mundane, but all of the issues that you're having up in the extremities of the register, no matter what standard you are, the issues that you have start here in the low register, your psychology towards playing, and the feeling of playing. So if I can get you again to hum a note, how hard is it to do? And this is passive. It's the whole concept of the balloon, right? I've taken a breath in. I don't need to squeeze the balloon for the air to come out. So let's consider the lungs the same thing. There's a balloon in here. Then all of a sudden, there was no engagement to get even up to that middle C there. If you were here, it would be weird if we had a bunch of people touching the abdominal wall. But check this out. If I fill the lungs, okay, so there's absolutely, you won't feel anything engaged there. And I was getting to G above the stave. But what happens is when we start thinking faster speed or longer endurance, all of a sudden, what happens? We lose that feeling of freedom, openness that is essential for all of your playing. We lose that because we start going from to and we engage too much and we tighten all the same things up here. Now remember, we want the lips to interact with the air as if they're the vocal cords, okay? So I need you, if you haven't done the Largo Stator stage, you need to do it over the duration of this first week to start and find what I call the point of difference, okay? Because once we start going along there, I'm not sure if you can see the chart very well. I might be able to move it a little bit closer. As I said, this is my first time doing this, so it's going to be sitting in front of me. So here is the chart that is that I haven't even hardly mentioned it. Win-win-win. I'm at the end. If you send in a video, those who have improved the most over the 5-week period. Oh no, my phone's not on silent. Don't start texting me, smart Alex. Ugh. Rookie error. Right. So by the end of the first week, we're done. We take a screenshot, or if you're using the paper, you'll find at the page a link to printouts. You can print out and use a pen. All right. We're going to start really, really slowly. So for more advanced players, bear with me. Now, at the end of the day, this is what we want it to feel like. Now, remember the mantra. I want the lips to interact with the air as if they're the vocal cords. Okay? So here we go. We're going to set the metronome to 60. And all I want is to be able to go, we're going to start off with quarter notes. So crotchets. E flat to A flat. Now, instantly in that exercise there, in doing that, if you are switched on, if you do it with your eyes closed, and as per usual, I put something down and lose it, you will notice the difference between the feeling of humming and singing. That's easy. The balloon gets smaller as you go along. If you shut your eyes and you start going, you will find that the body engages. Now, the body does not need to engage, and I could have conversations on this for hours. There will be teachers all around the place that will go, it's nonsense, it's not nonsense, it's physics. The face determines the overtone that speaks out of the instrument. The sound that's emitted from the bell is determined by what we do here. It has nothing to do with this. And if you want to improve your playing, this is where it starts, okay? If you're in a psychology of blow faster, to play higher, well, firstly, I'd get you to go, okay, if you believe that, I can go and push the air, and it puts the chops under a lot of pressure, but it's limited to the speed that I could grab my abdominal muscles and push the air. However, if I don't do that and simply, there's so much energy in a passive releasing body for the time at the start. We're passive, we're not active, I'm not engaging. it's as easy to play trumpet as what it is to get some air into the lungs and let it go. Now, if you're younger, you're smaller. You know, women that are 60 have a smaller lung capacity than men that are 30 or men that are 60. So there's less passive energy with a smaller lung capacity, but that doesn't mean that you cannot use passive energy to play your horn. So if you've got your instrument there and you're working through it, hey Rob, hey man, you've still got them, good work. If you've got your Sean O'Toole, you're a drummer. G'day. If you've got your instrument there, I want you to play me a low C, and I want you to work on discovering, and it's too hard to explain here. There are videos on it in depth about this, but I want you to find a low C, fill the lungs, and relax. Now I said that. People hate the word relax. I didn't relax so much that I fell off the chair, but I didn't engage. And I want to start off like that. As the air runs out, as the air ran out, we went from passive to equilibrium. Then I had to get active to maintain the volume. But at no time did I lose the feeling of the body's concert hall. Okay? So the whole essence of this, folks, is I just demonstrated that I could do E flat to A flat for one beat. Well, it's actually 2 beats when I'm doing quarter notes, isn't it? So I'd click 1 and 2. So I've basically done 2 beats. So then if I start the metronome again, so that, given the fact that we're doing quarter notes, is 4 beats. So we click the boxes. So then we work on breath control. How long can we go for? And that's up to you to practice. You can obviously go for longer if you're doing it softly. If you're doing it at a full volume, you're going to run out of air faster. So of course, if you want to get down to 40, 50, 60 seconds, you're going to have to do it really slowly. Now, for those of you that have just joined that weren't here before, I haven't played. I haven't been playing, been away. So what I'm going to do is, just for demonstration's sake of what we're working on in the charts here, I'm going to go for as long as I possibly can at quarter notes equals 60. Here we go. I'm nervous. Okay, so that brought up something. I only realized the other day that when we put the metronome together, I didn't cut the file because it's an MP3 repeating. And I didn't cut it right at the beat. So you'll find after a couple of minutes on some of the different tempos that it loses that. Stupid oversight in a world of having a lot of things to think about. So I apologize in advance. Don't shoot me, say the metronome sucks. It's an MP3 player on repeat. And I was just stupid to not edit it properly. My mistake. So I've got no idea how long I went for. But if I was doing it, I'd be using the clock. I'd be watching the clock and timing myself. So let's say I got to 30 seconds. I'm going to turn the metronome off. Right. So I'm going to say 30 seconds, and when I watch it back, I'll know how long I went for. Now, in the morning, so morning Australian time, because the issue here, of course, is it's between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. in America. So I'm going to be doing some in American time in the mornings and then some at night time. So I'll come back tomorrow and go, right, okay, so I got 30 seconds here. Can I get 35 or can I get 40? So we're working on breath control. And at no stage from full to empty, check it out. I'm pushing. I'm just about empty, but have a listen to the voice. Now I'm still talking. It's still open there. I'm just about out of there. And then as soon as I take a nice breath, it's still open, and you can hear the difference in the sound. So the whole, I would easily sit here and speak for 5 hours about all the concepts and do it, but I won't. I'll stay on task. But you've got to keep the body resonant. And when you add the instrument to a resonant body, the sound's going to be resonant. And the big thing is, remember, I want the lips to interact with the air as if they're the vocal cords. And I do not, well, what we're looking for basically is at what point does open turn into and push and tighten. This is everything. If I get into, okay, another, just put myself on the spot. If I get into lead mode, if I was to do that completely passively, no voice, no push, it gets really soft upstairs, but this remains. So what we're looking for by spending all this time in the harmonic slurs in the low register is to become familiar with the open resonance feeling in the body. And then when we start adding volume or we start adding range, do we engage and start and choke? Magnifying glass. At what point does our voice go, do we go, and start and choke and tighten? And if we want the lips to interact with the air as if they're the vocal cords, it says it all, okay? So you can hear in the sound, open, passive, that was passive. Here is active. And it's loud and my neighbours will hear me, but I don't, it's only 7:30, whatever. So then when we are increasing airflow, people will say air compression, and it is air compression. But when we're getting in the higher register and we're engaging the body, there's less air traveling from the body. There's less air traveling through the horn, less air traveling through the horn. Most of the energy that we used is lost in friction or keeping the sound wave alive, and a little bit of it is emitted in sound. But as we start going higher, if we don't know the shape of the face, or if on a guitar, we don't know where to put the finger on the string to get the note, does strumming harder on a guitar help you play a higher note if your finger's in the wrong spot? No. People use extra air pressure to force the lips into the shape required for the note. If you know the shape of the note, then air and shape work in tandem. Erin? To learn the shape required of each note and to learn the airflow required of each note, we start in the low register with this, and we get our harmonic slurs faster. The faster we get them, the more aware and the more efficient the face becomes. At what point do we become, there's fear involved, it's getting too fast, it's going too long? At what stage does the body start and panic and push and kick and choke off because we're starting to do harmonic slurs faster? Well, that's what we're here to find out. So now I'm going to go across to, heck with it. In a minute, something just happened. I'm going to go across to 120, okay? And I'm going to do quarter notes this time. So, there, I've done one beat of quarter notes at 120. Let's go for two beats. All right, so I nailed that. Now here's an appropriate time to go zero tolerance for imperfection. Don't miss. If you're not convinced that you've got it nailed, come back and do it. What we're doing is looking for your limits, okay? You're looking for your limits. Don't be scared of your limits, and do not manipulate process in order to think that you can go faster or you can go for longer. It doesn't matter if you can go for faster or longer if the system is killing itself. If you're doing this in the low register, what do you think you're doing up an octave? Then what do you think you're doing up 2 octaves? It's really logical. So the whole process of this is to get rid of any negative tension and manipulation in the system at all. And I simply want it to feel like, again, how hard is it to hum and sing? It's easy, right? There's the airflow. Now, all of this is at the Largo course. All the concepts are there. What you'll do after you've seen this, and then you go and start and work through the Largo stage, it's free. You'll start and recognize when the body starts to grab. And this is what we're looking for. Because if it starts to grab in the low register, with most people that I teach, they think they're doing the processes right, and lo and behold, they're not quite on it. There is still engagement, there is still tightness, and the whole concept of passive, oops, I just smashed a plate with a visualizer. Don't work with kids, pets, or trumpet players. Luckily, I have a spare. I'm having a deep discussion on the forum with someone about the sympathetic oscillation. How hard is it to do? Greg, we can't play all over the range of the instrument like that. I know we can't. What are we doing? We're learning airflow and shape. Feeling of airflow, shape, and aperture corners. This page has been used a lot. Aperture corners. Not, how can I do this? Yeah. Not the corners of the mouth, not the face. The corners of where the air comes out. Everyone wants to go, not how to play a brass instrument. A brass instrument is air oscillating in the body and oscillating in a pipe. There's air in there. All we need to do is energize that air and add it to a resonant body, and you get a resonant sound. If you get a tight body or tight lips, the sound becomes too compact. Then if I put the mouthpiece on, do the same thing. harmonic slur. Try and do it without moving the face and forcing the air is inefficient and doesn't work. Let the balloon get smaller and let the bass do what the bass needs to do, and all of a sudden you connect pitch, and then you start to change pitch as we start going higher without the body going into the Valsalva maneuver. It's referred to as Valsalva. It's a medical thing by Dr. Valsalva to test compression in the ears and the nose, ear, nose, throat stuff. But for us, we don't want to close the throat and engage. We don't want to be doing that. We want to stay open, resonant, and not fight against the instrument. So at what stage? I've done 4 beats at 120. I've done 2 beats. Let's do 4 beats. There's nothing to it, but what people do is all of a sudden, especially beginners, but not only beginners, there's activity involved in playing the E flat. So there's a grip and there's a tightness. And then because it's so tight, the only way they can get the note to vibrate and speak the next harmonic up, so our A flat or concert G flat, the only way they can get that note to speak is to push the air. So what you're doing is you are changing shape, whether you can feel it or not, but you're also overdoing it with the body. And it starts to create a bit of a backup in the throat that you may not notice right here, but it's there. If you close your eyes, magnifying glass, there is a massive difference between and all of a sudden you can feel this, and it's engaged and it's happening. This is the feeling of it, and we don't want that. It's hard to do and doesn't sound very good. So if you're really switched on, those who are totally aware with their anatomy will be able to shut their eyes, recognize the feeling of humming and singing. Everything's in reverse here. I'm getting my head around it. Right? Humming and singing feels free, resonant, open. Pushed over here, tight, restricted, engaged. So we've shut off the body's consonant. We don't have the resonance from the tracheobronchial treel, the tubes above the lungs. This is all part of the instrument, and we lose it when we start going for longer or speeding up. So you need to be switched on. People don't get it. People do not get where I'm coming from, and that's a shame. But you'll figure it out. Once we start going for longer, let's go for 8 ball. I won't tick it yet. You'll notice, good point, if you've clicked the box and you go, actually, I probably cheated, you can tick it again and delete it, right? Okay. Now, we were going to have a reset button ready for tonight, but we haven't got it happening yet, but we will. So, all right, let's see if I can get 8 beats. Does everything stay calm when we go for 8 beats? Or do things, as we start running out of air, start to tighten? This is what you've got to be on the lookout for. Then we go for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds. So we get all the way down there. We click these boxes. And then we go, okay, well, I managed to get to 20 seconds, but I couldn't. I kept running out of air before 25 seconds. I kept running out. So then you've got to go, right, my challenge is to come back tomorrow and at 120, tick 25 seconds, right? So day one here, day one, and it's up to you how fast you do it. The biggest day of the challenge is day one of the week, because you go through and basically find where you're at. So you go through and start at tempo that's a little bit slow, but you can really ascertain what's happening in the body. Then go through, maybe day one you only want to do every second tempo, and on day two come back and do the alternate tempos until you get to the point where, now if you're a beginner out there, if all of a sudden I go up to 208, I didn't, geez, no one told me that I didn't change my metronome. There's 120. Right, thank you. I'm tired. Right, let me backtrack. That was 8 beats at 120. Okay, so for a lot of you out there, instantly that exercise there will encourage or often you'll get a click in the throat, back where you cough. It comes from too much pressure, too much resistance, too much force. Now, if you compare the feeling of that to you cough and then do that, they are polar opposites. And most people spend most of their lives playing with a degree of cough, a degree of the Valsalva maneuver, which I was going to say is when you pick up a heavy instrument or a weight, you were to pick up something heavy, you go, and you close the throat and you engage the abdominal muscles. This is great because it activates all the musculature around the spine to prevent injury, but it's bad for playing a wind instrument. We want the wind instrument playing to be free the whole time. So an awareness of freedom is crucial to being able to determine when you're not playing with freedom. That's what this whole thing of people rush through the Largo stage and go, I've got it, I can play those notes. Completely miss the point. All this stuff is there, but you've got to be really switched on. And more advanced players will find a lot of the stuff that I do completely bizarre. But what is it about? It's about finding a feeling, learning a feeling or a sensation, and then recognizing when you compromise that. It's called the point of difference. Feels free when I hum, sing. When I play, it's different. Where is it different? At what point? I can guarantee that the young guys that are here, they pick up the horn and try and play E flat to A flat, harmonic here. Well, let's go. I'm going to do this like I'm practicing. All right. So I've got my clock here. I'm watching the clock. I've got the metronome set at 120. Now I'm going to go for as long as I can. So I'm going to have to do it softly. But even though I'm doing it softly, body's concert hall is not compromised. Now what will happen, especially with beginners, but not only, is because we're doing it softly, the body starts to engage more because there's too much tension in the oscillator, in the middle of the lip. There's too much tension there, so the air must force it to vibrate. This is not efficient. We need to be able to get the middle of the lip to stay nice and loose, use passive for as long as we can, and then when we engage the body, not to choke up. So here we go. I'm going to see how long I can go for. I'll start on the 10. So I could have kept going there, okay, air-wise, but you would have heard that all of a sudden, and something happened. you need to stop then, because I didn't nail it. You need to stop and go, radio, I can only do 15, 20, I mean, I got to about 30 seconds or something until it started to fall apart. Now, what does that tell you? There is a lot of information in that. If after 30 seconds, all of a sudden the awareness of the musculature starts to panic. So it was cool after 5 seconds, it was cool after 10, it was cool after 15, it was cool after 20, but it wasn't after 25 or 30. That is powerful information. So then you come back tomorrow, what I would do, and I'll do it tomorrow on trombone. I've got a trombone playing friend coming, and we're going to stream live for the American time slot, and we're going to be doing it on trombone. And I will look at that tempo and go, right, I need to tick that box. Although on trombone, I can't do it as well as trumpet. But that is what we're looking for. At what point does it break down? Because as we start getting faster, then all of a sudden it becomes trickier. So let's get to the extreme. You're bored, you're falling asleep. Greg, I can play that. I'm all over it. It's easy. You know, talking nonsense. All right, let's get real. So I'm going to set the metronome to 208. All right. So let's see if I can get it right in here. This way. So metronome is set at 208, and I'm going to go across and see how many beats I can get. And I'm going to do 16ths. It's called a challenge, not a walk in the park. WindWorks walk in the park. We can do that if you like. Won't achieve much. One beat is all I want. 16ths. Diddle-it. Diddle-it. Do-yo-yo. Do-yo-yo. That was cool. So I've got one beat down. In my life, the best I've ever got is 6 beats. I've never got to 8, but this challenge is going to fix that. So that was one beat. Tick. Yes. Oh, crikey. I'll be better at this by the end of week 5. See, I put one tick up there at 208 because I've got it, right? 2 beats. That's 1. So they're pretty good. I've got 2 there, but instantly, logic says if you can do 1, you can do 2. Logic says if you can do 2, you can do 4, right? But in trying to do that, people get really stuck because they don't know what the bass is doing. The air panics and forces and chokes and pinches, and it all goes, you know, to the, you know what. So I can tick 2 beats. Can I get 4 beats? But I'll try. Remember, 0 tolerance for missing. That was actually really close. Now I'll have a listen back to it and see, because I'm real pedantic with this. Real pedantic. But it felt good. I'll just see. That was actually good. Okay, so lo and behold, I can actually do 4 beats at 16th, 208. So what have I done the chart at? So it's 1 beat, 2 beats, 4 beats. So tick the box. So I've got 3 boxes ticked. Now I can guarantee that I cannot go for a minute doing that. Now, the progress charts, some of you might have already thought it already, but it's the same with tonguing. We're going to do a tonguing challenge. How fast can you single tongue and double tongue and triple tongue? And you'll know that after you go for a particular duration, you start to get tired. The tongue starts to get tired. It starts to become difficult. What's the Claude Gordon thing was tongue, single tongue for one. This is what inspired the practice progress charts. I love it when things like that happen. The thing that inspired these practice progress charts was, I think it was Claude Gordon. Please, hang on a minute, see if I can't move the comments for some reason. That's really annoying. I'll have to work on that for next time. Oh, hang on. Oh, here we go. Excuse me. Sorry, pardon me. Okay, cool. So Claude Gordon said that it took him, or I'm thinking maybe it was Herbert L. Clark. I don't know. It took him three years to learn to single tongue 16ths for a minute in one breath. Think about that. 120. Let's go back to 120 for a second. So I'm digressing here, but you'll understand. Most of us can go any semi-pro to professional player can easily. But why, after you try it at home, after 10 seconds or 15 seconds or 20 seconds or 30 seconds or 40 seconds or 50 seconds, even if your air can go that long, why does the tongue slow down? Why does it get harder the longer you go? It just does. Logic says that I can do 4 beats, harmonic slurs at crotchet equals 280, quarter notes 280. All the Americans are asleep. I can say, what do I do that? Crotchets and quavers. And for any English friends there, let's all go and watch the cricket after this. Anyway, I digress. Back to 208. Can I get 1, 2, 4? I've done 4. I need to get 8 beats. I've never done 8 beats at this tempo in my life, ever. It's not even close. It's not close. It's quick, it's cool, but it's not in control. If it's not in control, what's the point? The whole essence of this challenge is the only way you're going to get faster is to do less work, more efficiency, greater awareness of shape, greater awareness of airflow. And you'll see when you do the WindWorks course, there is a thing called the 1% rule. If I'm talking to you like this, it's hard work and doesn't sound very good, but as soon as I start to relax, it sounds better. So on the horn, can we do 1% less work to get 1% more sound? And it's being able to maintain optimum efficiency when we start adding range and when we start adding volume, duration, that determines how we're going. There's a pyramid effect like that. Okay? Better foundation, higher peak. I totally believe in it. So if you can start getting your harmonic slurs faster, I'm going to try again. Can I get 8 beats? I don't think so. It's just behind. It's just behind. It's just behind. So what I'll do is come back tomorrow, and I'll do it the next day, and I'll come back the following day after that. I'm going to come back the day after that. Then I'll come back the day after that. And by the end of week 1, I might have been able to go for a longer duration on some of the speeds. Well, I will have, because basically what you'll do when you start filling out your practice progress chart, it'll be on an angle like, not ideal, is it? I'll figure out a better way. It'll be on an angle. The faster you go, the shorter you'll be able to go. Now, I can do slower for a minute. My breath, would you believe the longest note I ever played, which was really softly? I used to do a lot of long note exercise with a friend called Corey in Melbourne. A minute 39 on an E flat pianissimo. A minute 39. And after that, I thought, okay, I think it's diminishing returns. I'm going to stop doing those. But I'd learned a lot about airflow in doing that. So playing for a minute is something that you should all aspire to in one breath, absolutely. Then when we're adding tongue or harmonic slur, how far can we go before we start to choke and tighten, push, strain, all that sort of stuff? Or does the body remain free? So that entitles us. Now I'm going to do this on a different harmonic, but if you were here, I'd put your hand on my abdominal wall and you won't feel anything. And there's nothing, you can tell when I start talking, there was no engagement. There doesn't have to be, but it was short, the note was short, and I could use the air in the mouth to go dat, dat, dat on a high C, and it's effortless. But what people do to try and play a high C is panic, is go, the psychology says, right, we need to engage, we need to, and we need to, and we need to, and we need to, and then, and push it, everything chokes, and it's everywhere. And even there's a bunch of pro players around that to a degree survive on that. Now it sounds great. They can play with a beautiful sound. The thing that I've got to offer anyone who's watching who cares is I spend my days talking to professional touring players who are at wit's end. They've got the gig. They don't need to impress people. They've got nothing to prove. All that matters is self-satisfaction. And like anyone, if you're not enjoying your job, no matter how good the job is, you're going to be unhappy, right? And the unhappiness stems from people that are playing inefficiently. It's limiting and it's frustrating. You can sound great, but at the end of the day, inefficiency is going to win and it's going to crucify you. Now, a lot of people out there, there are heaps of people that play and it is the old school macho, get some blood on your chops energy and force and strain and just get the job done. You can do that if you want, all right? But as we age, it becomes more difficult. If you're looking to expand your playing, you're going to be limited. And if we can actually understand a very simple system, there is air in the lungs. And the lungs are here. Forget all this stuff down here. We can talk about all different breathing techniques, and I cover some in the course. But for now, your lungs are here, right? Get air here. Then there's something that oscillates, that makes the air vibrate. Either the voice is making the air vibrate in the body and the mouth, or the lips, which is making the air vibrate in the body and the instrument, right? If you understand that really simple concept and start playing with as much efficiency as possible, that's why I work on so much passive work, is to get people to let go. You can make a massive sound with zero effort. Without falling off, I'm going to put a low C down my hallway here, and we'll probably just air in the lungs, relax. If you've got those concepts down, then starting to get you'll be able to recognize straight away whether, because of the speed demand or the duration demand, whether the brain panics and we start to force and kick the air. And if you recognize that, this is gold, right? It's a process of elimination. That's all it is. It's just finding where nonsense begins. That's all. That's all. That's all. So the most resonant body is going to give the instrument the most resonant sound. Any tightness in the middle of the lips is going to impede the freedom of resonance and oscillation, right? It's going to interfere with the air. Bobby Shue, quote, "The lips are a hindrance to the airflow." What a random concept. Couldn't agree more. The lips get in the way. The lips don't make the sound. They just have to let go. And this is a big problem everyone's dealing with. So if we can get rid of that and really understand the aperture corners, and I could speak here for an hour about the whole concept of the ma-wow. We're finding those aperture corners and recognizing the tiny little tweaks that they do to stimulate a higher note on the pipe. It is simply the aperture corners is affecting the velocity of the air through the lips, which is changing the air in the mouthpiece and the horn. There was nobody involved in doing that. But what people are doing across the world and have been, I've done it for years and years and years, so I spend my life doing what we're doing right now to stop people from doing it. And they've got to think about it differently, because either by the way they've been trained or innately, it is squeeze lips and push harder. That's what we've been taught to do, and I don't care who you are, who you've taught, where you've played, it is killing players across the damn planet. I don't care. I don't care. The way that the instrument works is we're energizing air that's already in there. We're not blowing through the horn. In fact, I haven't even tried this, but someone sent me a video recently, and now I think this instrument's fairly clean. I'm going to have to practice it. They sucked in, they're doing my lead pipe. No, I'm going to need to practice it. You can get the lead pipe to speak by bringing the air in, but it's obviously going to be a weird shape. But I'm going to work on doing that. I'll demonstrate it in the next couple of days. By sucking the air in, it's the same thing in reverse. You're energizing the air in the pipe. The lips are oscillating, so it sets up the standing sound wave, and the body resonates. I can't wait to try that. I should have been thinking about that. Anyway, thank you for inspiring me to do that. I think I've covered everything. Are there any questions, any thoughts, criticisms, theories, stock market tips, anything? I'm up for a chat, and I suspect there might be a few people joining now thinking, oh, I'll call it 7 o'clock in Australia now, and it's not, it's 8 o'clock. So, Gianni Marinucci, thank you, buddy. Good to see you here. Thanks for watching. Any questions, any thoughts, criticisms, queries? I'm right up for the chat. As you'll see, there is a lot of information, and I had a lot of questions about how to use the practice progress charts. All you need to do is go through and fill out every box you can. Simple as that. Don't start too slow. Go as fast as you can. We're after the box where you can only do one beat. Can you please give me a name for that? Everything needs a name. That way you can do one beat, but you can't do two. The golden tempo. I don't know. I'm tired. Yeah, have a think about it. What tempo? And even if it's tonguing or harmonic slurs, we'll do the tonguing one later. Harmonic slurs are important. What tempo can you do one beat, but you can't do two? At what part in your development does turn into uh-oh? I'm teaching a singer who used to work on on the West End, and when I went and didn't engage the body, he thought I was Satan, because you have to go and engage. You don't have to. Right? The way we think about the system is wrong. So unless there are any questions, I'm going to get to and download this and put it up on the YouTube channel. So it's going to be at YouTube. It's going to be on this page. If you're watching on Facebook, it'll remain on this page. If you're watching at the website, now let's see if it's still working. Go across to the WindWorks page. go across to the WindWorks page. Okay, it's not letting me do that for some reason. Anyway, I hope it's still streaming there. So on that note, unless there's any questions, we've been going for an hour. That's probably long enough for you to put up with my banter. If you haven't done the Largo status stage, you're not going to be aware enough to find the point of difference. You've got to figure out exactly what I'm talking about. Passive, body resonance, sympathetic oscillation of the middle of the lip, aperture corners. You've got to find the most free, like low C, concert B flat that you can find. And when you start adding the demand of tempo or duration, at what point does turn into If it happens in this range, by the time you get to a middle C, it's this. By the time you get to a high C, it's this. And if you think you can work harder to get up into the upper register, you are going to get hernias, glaucoma, perforated larynxes, vocal dystonia. Where does it end? Someone's just sent me a text. I'm going to go before the phone starts going nuts. If there's no questions, thank you all for watching. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I'll be with the trombone player and we'll be moving on. I'm going to be filling out my charts. By the end of week 1, how much have you developed? Next week we go up a semitone. Who can last the challenge? Who wants to film themselves and go, Greg, this is what I could do at the first week. In 5 weeks' time, I can't believe when I look back to what I did in the first week. I cannot believe what I can do now. And it will happen, I promise. On that note, my dear friends, I love you all. Happy trumpet playing from here on the beautiful Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia. And I look forward, if you want to check in tomorrow morning, it's 10 o'clock Australian time, afternoon for America, and I don't know what time in the UK. And we just keep working through this for the next 5 weeks. Enjoy, happy playing. Please get in touch with any questions. I'll see you all next time. In 2 days' time, it'll be at the same time. So Tuesday, 7 p.m. Hope to see you then. Bye.